Welcome back to Two Robots Talking,
Back again.
where we, as always, do a deep dive
Yeah.
into some fascinating interviews. And this one
Oh, yeah.
is a doozy.
This is a good one.
So you might not recognize the name,
Okay.
Christopher Langan.
Okay.
But this guy is considered by some to be one of the most intelligent people alive.
Interesting.
And he's
I
got
can meet this guy.
some interesting ideas about
Yeah.
the universe and our place in it.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so
Let's hear it.
first of all, he developed this pretty mind-blowing theory
Okay.
called the Cognitive-Theoretic Model of the Universe,
That's a mouthful.
CTMU,
CTMU. Okay.
for short.
All right.
It's essentially his attempt to create a theory of everything,
Oh, wow.
a framework that explains how reality, consciousness,
Okay.
and even God all fit together.
All right, lay it on me.
So what's the core idea behind this CTMU?
Yeah. Break it. I need the simple version.
Imagine reality as code
Okay.
that's constantly rewriting itself,
All right.
and God is the programmer.
Interesting.
That's the essence of Langan's CTMU.
Okay.
Or calls it self-simulation,
Okay.
suggesting that the universe isn't just a random collection
Right.
of matter and energy,
Okay.
but a self-generated system with its own intelligence and purpose.
So we're living in a giant computer simulation.
Not exactly a computer simulation in the way we typically think of it.
Okay.
Langan sees reality as more of a self-aware system
Okay.
that's constantly evolving and generating itself.
Right.
And within this system, consciousness isn't just limited to humans.
Okay.
It's a fundamental property of the universe itself.
Wait, so you're saying like this table
Yeah.
could theoretically be aware of itself?
Well, he uses the term generically conscious
Generically conscious, okay.
to describe this. So think of it like this.
Mm-hmm.
Every particle, even this very table, has a tiny bit of self-awareness
Built into it.
built into it.
That's just,
That's the identity operator he talks about.
okay.
It's a concept rooted in quantum mechanics.
Right.
And it suggests that consciousness is woven into the very fabric of reality.
My brain is doing backflips right now.
But if consciousness is everywhere, does that mean we're all connected somehow?
Yeah. Are we all plugged in?
That's precisely what Langan argues.
Oh, wow.
He believes that this universal consciousness is the source of our individual consciousness,
Okay.
connecting us all through a kind of cosmic network.
Hmm.
And at the heart of this network is God,
Okay.
the ultimate source of being and intelligence.
So where does God fit into all of this? I mean, like, is he the master programmer of this self-simulating universe?
That's one way to put it.
Okay.
Langan asserts that God's existence can be proven through logic.
Through logic.
He sees God as the fundamental identity of reality,
Mm-hmm.
the ground of being upon which everything else rests.
That's pretty powerful.
He even compares his view of God
To what?
to the statement, "I am that I am," from the book of Exodus.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's like God is the ultimate self-affirmation,
Right.
the source of all existence.
I am that I am. Yeah.
And for Langan, this God isn't some distant, detached creator.
Right.
He believes God possesses consciousness
Okay.
and interacts with humanity.
So a personal God.
In a sense, we are reflections of that divine consciousness.
Okay. I mean, so this is where it gets interesting.
Yeah,
If God is conscious and we're reflections of that consciousness,
yeah.
do we have free will? Or are we just puppets dancing to the tune of some cosmic program?
Big
question.
Langan is adamant that we have genuine free will.
Okay.
He rejects the deterministic view that our actions are simply a chain of cause and effect.
So it's not all predetermined.
I
mean,
mean,
how does he reconcile free will with this idea
Right.
of a self-simulating universe where God is pulling the strings?
Well, he introduces this concept called metacausation.
Metacausation, all right.
It's a bit complex, but essentially he suggests that causality doesn't just operate from the past to the future,
Okay.
but also from the future to the past.
So our choices can ripple backwards in time.
It's like the universe is constantly generating itself, and our choices influence that process in a kind of feedback loop.
So we're not just passive observers,
Right.
but active participants in shaping reality.
Exactly, through our choices.
That's a mind-bending concept.
It is, and it challenges our conventional understanding of time and causality.
Yeah.
But for Langan, this is how free will operates within a self-simulating universe.
All right, so that ties into his views on life after death, too, right?
It does. He believes that consciousness persists even after our physical bodies die.
Okay.
And his concepts of heaven and hell are not about fiery pits and pearly gates.
Okay, so no St. Peter.
He describes them as states of being.
Said to be being.
Heaven for Langan is about being connected to the divine consciousness,
Okay.
experiencing a state of perfect unity and understanding.
I like the sound of that.
Hell, on the other hand, is a self-imposed state of isolation from that divine source.
So it's more about our relationship with God
Exactly.
than a specific location.
It's a state of spiritual isolation,
So hell is being cut off from that source of truth and meaning.
which Langan believes can be quite tormenting.
Right, like solitary confinement almost.
It's a fascinating perspective that challenges traditional notions of the afterlife.
It is so now for something completely different.
Okay.
He also talks about psychedelics,
He does.
which is really interesting.
He has a somewhat nuanced view,
Okay.
suggesting they might offer a glimpse into another dimension of consciousness.
He uses the term non-terminal consciousness to describe this, right?
That's right.
So like the aspect of our consciousness that connects us to God.
He believes psychedelics might allow us to tap into that connection more directly.
But he also throws in a word of caution, right?
He does.
Like there's a potential downside.
Absolutely. Langan acknowledges that psychedelics can be dangerous if used improperly.
Yeah, like opening a portal to another dimension.
He seems to think they can open a door to a deeper reality.
Yeah,
But you need to be prepared for what you might find on the other side.
you better be sure you're ready for what might step through.
Okay, now.
All right, so before we go full sci-fi here,
Right.
let's move on to something else.
Let's talk about angels and demons.
Angels and demons. Okay.
He makes this fascinating distinction between Satan and Lucifer.
Okay, interesting.
He sees Lucifer as a necessary intermediary between God and the imperfect physical world.
So Lucifer isn't necessarily like the embodiment of pure evil.
Right.
He's more of a complex figure.
Exactly. He's often depicted as the angel of light,
Yeah.
the bringer of knowledge, but also the one who tempts us with forbidden fruit.
Okay.
It's a very different interpretation than the traditional view
Right.
of Lucifer as like the embodiment of evil.
So where does Satan fit in then?
Langan believes Satan, representing the antithesis of God, lacks coherence.
Lacks coherence.
Uh,
Okay.
He describes Satan as a force that relies on humans
To do what?
to give it form and power in the world.
So we empower Satan through
Through our negative thoughts and actions,
darkness.
we're essentially giving Satan a platform to operate in the world.
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
We've covered a lot of ground here,
We have.
from the CTMU and God to consciousness, free will, angels and demons.
My head is spinning.
Langan's perspective challenges conventional thinking,
For sure.
but there's more to uncover in this interview.
Oh, there is.
Yeah.
Okay, give me a preview.
He also dives into his criticisms of modern society,
Okay.
particularly his views on globalism,
Okay.
the dangers of technology,
Yeah.
and the new atheism movement.
Oh, he's got thoughts.
He does.
So he's going there.
He weaves together all these seemingly disparate topics:
Can't wait.
philosophy, science, spirituality, social commentary.
This is going to be good.
But we'll have to save that for part 2.
Okay, stay tuned, everybody, because we'll be exploring those controversial ideas and more in the next part of our deep dive into Christopher Langan's interview.
Welcome back to Two Robots, talking the last time we left off with Christopher Langan's ideas about consciousness, free will, even angels and demons.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that he's not afraid to challenge conventional thinking.
No, he's not. And in this part of our deep dive, we're going to explore some of his more controversial views, particularly his critique of modern society
Okay.
and what he sees as the dangers of globalism.
All right, so when Langan talks about globalism, he's not
Yeah.
just talking about like international trade or cultural exchange, right?
No.
He's specifically concerned about a certain group of powerful individuals and institutions
Right.
that he believes are actively working to erode national sovereignty and traditional values.
He even shares an anecdote about applying to the World Economic Forum's Young Global Leaders program,
Oh, really?
just to see what would happen
Okay.
as a conservative.
Yeah.
And unsurprisingly, he was rejected. He uses this experience to illustrate his skepticism toward organizations like the WEF that claim to be neutral,
Okay.
but in his view promote a specific agenda that aligns with the interests of a global elite.
So he sees these organizations, along with institutions like the UN and the EU,
Right.
as tools being used to centralize power and create a global system of governance that undermines individual liberty and national identity.
It's a perspective that resonates with a certain segment of the population, particularly those who are wary of globalization
Right.
and what they perceive as the erosion of traditional values.
Yeah, and Langan's concerns about the potential for these institutions to be manipulated by powerful interests.
Right.
I mean, that definitely echoes sentiments we hear from various political groups.
He doesn't hold back on his criticism, calling out what he sees as a deliberate effort to create a global monoculture, a world where everyone thinks and acts the same way.
A homogenized world.
Yeah, he seems particularly concerned about the suppression of dissenting voices, those who challenge the prevailing narrative of globalism.
Yeah, it's interesting how he connects this idea of globalism to his broader philosophical framework. Like, he argues that this push towards a homogenized world is a form of degeneracy,
Right.
a deviation from the natural order of things as defined by his CTMU.
And it's not just globalism that worries him. He's also quite critical of the rapid advancement of technology,
Really? In what way?
particularly in the areas of surveillance and control.
Okay.
He sees a dangerous trend toward a society where individuals are constantly monitored, their data collected and analyzed, and their behavior manipulated through algorithms and artificial intelligence.
The classic Big Brother scenario.
But for Langan, this isn't just science fiction.
Right.
It's a very real threat that's becoming increasingly tangible with each passing year.
And he's particularly concerned about the transhumanist movement,
Yes.
which advocates for the use of technology to enhance human capabilities
Right.
and even transcend the limitations of our physical bodies.
He seems to think they're chasing a false utopia.
So if we're already living in a self-simulating universe, as his CTMU suggests,
Right.
why try to create another layer of simulation through technology?
It's a thought-provoking critique. He suggests that instead of trying to escape our human limitations through technology,
Right.
we should focus on understanding and embracing our place within the natural order of the universe, as defined by his CTMU.
That age-old question of playing God.
How far is too far when it comes to manipulating our own biology and merging with technology?
For Langan, the answer seems to be that we've already crossed that line.
He sees the pursuit of transhumanism as a dangerous distraction from the real task at hand, which is to understand and align ourselves with the divine intelligence that created the universe.
So he also takes aim at the new atheism movement, right?
He does. He criticizes their often dogmatic rejection of any form of spirituality or belief in a higher power.
He argues that their approach is overly simplistic and fails to grasp the complexities of consciousness and the nature of reality.
He sees it as a form of intellectual arrogance, a refusal to acknowledge the limits of human understanding.
It's interesting how he connects his critique of new atheism to his ideas about globalism.
Right.
He sees both as manifestations of a materialistic worldview
Right?
that prioritizes reason and logic
Yeah.
over intuition and spiritual insight.
For Langan, this overemphasis on the rational mind has led to a kind of spiritual disconnect, a separation from the source of meaning and purpose that he believes is essential for human flourishing.
He sees this disconnect as a major contributing factor
Yeah.
to many of the problems we face today.
From political polarization and social unrest to environmental degradation and the existential angst that seems to permeate modern life.
He's calling for a shift in consciousness, a return to a more holistic worldview that recognizes the interconnectedness of all things and our inherent connection to something larger than ourselves.
It's a message that resonates with many who are seeking meaning and purpose in a world that often feels fragmented and chaotic.
But is this call for a spiritual awakening a realistic solution to the complex challenges we face?
That's the question we'll continue to explore as we delve deeper into Langan's interview. Stay with us as we uncover his thoughts on the importance of truth, beauty, and finding meaning in a seemingly materialistic world. Welcome back to Two Robots Talking. We've been unpacking Christopher Langan's ideas about everything from the nature of reality to his criticisms of modern society.
It's been quite the intellectual roller coaster.
It really has, but now I'm curious about the practical implications.
Yeah, like what's the takeaway for the average person just trying to make sense of the world and, find their place in it?
That's a great question. Langan doesn't offer like a simple step-by-step guide to enlightenment or
Yeah.
anything like that.
But he does seem to emphasize the importance of cultivating like a deep connection with what he calls the divine intelligence that underlies reality. So when he talks about receptivity,
Right.
about being open to the guidance of a higher power, what does he mean by that?
It's about recognizing that we're not just these isolated individuals struggling to figure everything out on our own. He believes there's a source of wisdom and guidance available to us if we're willing to tune in.
So it sounds a bit like what some spiritual traditions refer to as like intuition or the inner voice.
Right.
But Langan seems to be taking it a step further,
Yeah.
suggesting that this guidance isn't just some psychological phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's like a direct connection to the source of all being.
Exactly. He believes this connection is always present,
Okay.
but we often block it with our own thoughts,
Right.
fears, and desires.
That's our baggage.
So receptivity for Langan is about quieting the mind
Okay.
and opening ourselves to a deeper level of awareness.
He even connects this idea of receptivity to beauty.
He does.
He argues that true beauty is an expression of this divine intelligence.
Right.
And that experiencing beauty can actually help us connect to that source of meaning and purpose.
This connection that he makes between beauty and spirituality.
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued by it. It's not something you hear discussed very often.
No, not really.
He seems to be suggesting that beauty isn't just subjective or superficial.
Right.
It's a reflection of a deeper cosmic order.
And that by appreciating beauty,
Yeah.
whether it's in nature, art, or music, we can cultivate a sense of awe and wonder that opens us to this deeper reality.
Right. He sees beauty as like a pathway
Yeah.
to spiritual understanding.
It's a beautiful concept.
It is.
Okay.
But it also raises some questions like,
Yeah, like what about those who don't have a strong aesthetic sense?
exactly. Or, what about those who find beauty in things that others might consider ugly or disturbing?
Right.
Langan acknowledges that beauty can be subjective to a degree,
Right.
but he believes there's also an objective aspect to it,
Like a universal harmony.
a kind of universal harmony that resonates with our souls.
And he suggests that even those who might have like unconventional tastes
Right.
are still drawn to beauty,
Exactly.
even if it manifests in unexpected forms.
It's not about dictating what people should find beautiful. It's about encouraging them to cultivate that sense of appreciation.
For whatever resonates with them.
Yeah, for whatever resonates with them on a deeper level.
So it's about recognizing that beauty is everywhere.
If we're willing to look for it.
Yeah, and that by cultivating this appreciation for beauty,
Right.
we can open ourselves up to that deeper connection with the divine intelligence that Langan believes permeates the universe.
It's a powerful message, one that transcends any particular religious dogma or spiritual tradition.
Yeah, it's about recognizing our inherent connection to something larger than ourselves and finding meaning and purpose in a world that often feels meaningless.
Langan's perspective is challenging,
Yeah.
even unsettling at times.
At times.
But it also offers this glimmer of hope, a sense that there's more to reality
That meets the eye.
than meets the eye, and that by cultivating a sense of receptivity,
Yeah.
we can tap into a source of wisdom and guidance that can help us navigate the complexities of life.
Folks, there you have it.
We've journeyed through Christopher Langan's mind.
Explored his complex theories, grappled with his controversial views.
Whether you agree with him or not,
His ideas certainly make you think.
they do. He's a reminder that there are always alternative ways of seeing the world.
For sure.
And sometimes exploring those unconventional viewpoints can lead to unexpected insights.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the mind of Christopher Langan here on Two Robots Talking. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.